It wasn't hard to do. I just had to switch off my emotions and think of other things. I got into the business for the money after all, not to get emotionally invested in any of the girls. Hi, I'm Gil, and I want to tell you about how I became a millionaire by having girls pay to go on dates with me. But before anything else, don't forget to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell icon to show your support for me. It started with Stella. She approached me one day as I was studying at our school's library. She sat down as if we were friends and laid the situation for me as if I had no choice in the matter. "My boyfriend's gone stale on me," she said. "I need you to flirt with me when he's watching." "What the?" I said, surprised. "Why would I do that?" And then Stella took out a bunch of hundreds from her bag. I counted 10 of them, at least. And that was the end of me questioning what rich girls wanted me to do. At first, going to school where the elite went was tough. I was one of the only 5 normal people there. Everyone else was either super rich or super famous, and they looked down on us. Whenever they passed me in the halls, their noses would wrinkle as if they smelled something bad. They laughed behind my back, and they called me a charity case. Maybe I was, I didn't care. I got in through a scholarship grant. Some rich prick's way of making themselves feel better about spreading $100 million on some yacht, probably. But nevertheless, it was a great opportunity. If I graduate from a great school, maybe I'll finally be able to do something to get my family out of poverty. And if I made good money just by pretending to be into little spoiled princesses, all the better for me. Stella's ploy didn't work at first, so she demanded that I go on dates with her. She dressed me in fine clothes and paraded me through school as if I was her new boyfriend, all while her stuck-up cold man watched. That worked. I guess no man, no matter how frigid he was, could stand to see their girl kissing someone else for all to see. It must have been so embarrassing for him to be shown up by some guy from the slums. Must have made him look stupid in front of his friends. The guy eventually threatened me and warned me to stay away from Stella. I made that situation work for me, too. "Sure, I'll stay away from her. But will she stay away from me?" I told the guy. "You better make sure she does," the guy threatened. "Sure," I agreed. "On one condition." "What's that?" he asked. 10,000 conditions, actually," I replied. The guy immediately understood what I meant, and he wasn't one to beat around the bush. He slapped a wad of cash onto my palm, and that was that. I never spoke to Stella again. Stella, though, spoke about me, it turned out. Word got around in hushed whispers amongst the girls in the school, and they all came to me, one by one, knowing that what I did for Stella worked. And suddenly, I was the answer to all their boyfriend woes. Some came to me to make their crushes jealous. Some came because they didn't have a date to some posh party. Some came just to find out why every girl in the school was talking about me. Some paid me in cold cash, some in Bitcoin, some made it worth my while by buying me designer clothes, and others by making deals with magazines to book me as a model. I partied with the rich, and I dated them. And when they had their fill and their goals were achieved, they moved on, and another client took their place. It was heaven, at least for a poor kid like me who never even knew what Gucci was to begin with. And to have all that attention from girls who had the world at their feet. It felt good. I wasn't immune, though. I fell for one of them. Her name was Rebecca, and she was not like the rest of them. She came to me because she was lonely. She was rich, insanely rich, just like the rest of them. But she wasn't friends with any of them. Just like I was before I became boyfriend for hire. Apparently, the other girls hated her because she was what they call new money. They looked down on her, too. And the boys, well, they didn't like her either because she was too vulgar. She spoke however she wanted, she wore whatever she wanted, and she didn't follow any rich people rules. She lived by her own terms, and that was really attractive to me. Sure, I was in it for the money at first. What was a couple dinner dates here and there for a few $1,000? It was probably spare change to her, and it was low effort for me. I had to just sit and eat and pretend to be interested. But the more I got to know her, the more real my interest became. I don't usually ask my clients this, I asked her one day as we finished our third date. But, You seem like a really cool girl, and I don't know why nobody else sees this. Would you maybe want to hang out at school too?" She blushed, and with a small cough, she said, "Sure. How much would I have to add to your standard rate?" That made me chuckle. No. I don't mean it that way. I like you, and I'd like to get to know you better. Doesn't have to be in a dating kind of way. I figured you'd need a friend. And I'd like it very much if we were friends outside of this whole scenario," I explained. Rebecca blushed again, and then she smiled in a way that I hadn't seen her smile before. "Thanks," she said. "Sure." And that's how I made my first new friend at the school. A friend I had a massive crush on, that is. And I knew she felt the same way. I know that because of the way she looks at me, and how she kisses me whenever she can get me alone. What excites me the most was that Rebecca was up for anything. She hated rules. She did as she pleased. And she wasn't even possessive of me. Not in the slightest. I don't know if we were in a relationship, but it definitely was something like it. But she never forbid me from talking to other girls. She also let me go on with my hustle. I would go on dates with new clients, making more and more money by the day, and she would support me all throughout. She even sent new clients my way. "It's all just pretend anyway," she told me one day. "You don't look at them the way you look at me, and if you can make money out of these stuck-up, spoiled brats, I respect you for it. I respect the hustle." And so, I dated Rebecca. And I went on dates with other girls who would pay me to do it. And I just saved and saved whatever money I made. I would only spend what I needed, until eventually, I was sitting on a small fortune that I made for myself. I was ready to quit the scheme when one day, Rebecca sat me down with a face all serious and worried. "I need you to do one last gig for me," she said. "You know you don't need to pay me for anything, right?" I said. "I insist. This one's a bit complicated," she said. "How so?" I asked. "My parents. They're not like me. They're snooty. They're just as bad as those kids at school. They want me to make sure I have a good future ahead of me. And by that, they mean I should marry rich. They're arranging this whole thing with the Rathbone kid," she said. And I could tell she was about to cry from just the thought of it. "Damon?" I exclaimed in disgust. "That guy can barely spell his own name right." That put a smile on Rebecca's face for a couple of seconds, but then she got all serious again. "I need to put an end to it, Gil. I need your help." I held her and kissed her forehead. "Anything you need, R," I said. "Free of charge." Rebecca pulled away. "No, I insist. This is gonna be more trouble than you think. At least take the money." "Nah," I replied. "Consider this gig to be my swan song. My parting gift before I retire from the hustle." Rebecca was right, though. Her parents were a nasty piece of work. Rebecca wanted us all to go to dinner together. She wanted to introduce me as her boyfriend so her folks would finally stop pushing her towards marrying Damon, the half-brain. But the moment we sat down for dinner, they already made it very clear they didn't approve of me. They refused to even look at me. They knew where I was from, they knew I was poor, and they weren't having it. By the end of dinner, I accepted defeat. I don't know, R," I said to her as I walked her to her car. "I don't think it worked in the least. They're really set on you and Damon." I know, said Rebecca, tears in her eyes. "We tried, though. Thanks." She kissed me goodnight and drove away. Her parents were waiting for the valet to bring their car around behind me, and as soon as Rebecca was out of sight, they approached me. "How much to make you go away?" they said. "How much for you to disappear from our daughter's life?" I looked them up and down in disbelief of the lengths they would go to stay rich. And without missing a beat, I answered, 100,000. Rebecca's mom took her phone out, grabbed mine, tapped a few times on her phone, and said, "Done." "Never talk to our daughter again," said her father.